Over the past few months, I've been exploring a new leveling strategy called exploration leveling. Today, I have finally finished my guide to the easiest leveling in World of Warcraft's history. All you have to do is fly around the beautiful World of Warcraft. And to help you on that journey, I have created 45 maps that detail nearly every exploration location that can get you to level 70 in just 3 hours. Even without the warband buff, because the warband buff doesn't affect exploration leveling. However, Earthen do get an XP buff that grants an additional 200% when discovering a new location. That combined with getting dynamic flight at level 10 is all you need to know. It's that easy. Make an Earthen, get on your mount, and you will get quests worth of XP just for exploring Azeroth. But that's just the start of it. Yes, you can ignore the entire rest of this video and still get a character to level 70 in a decent amount of time. Anyone can do it. Even if you don't plan to use my route, you can still learn how to optimize your own exploration leveling. That's the beauty of this method. You can't really go wrong. You can only go more right? Let's just begin. These beginning steps are the most important to follow. Everyone's journey begins at the character creation. Make an Earthen character. This leveling method will not work without doing so. If you haven't unlocked Earthen yet, I will put a link in the description that will tell you how. I make my Earthen on Alliance, but if you are Horde, do not worry, my route still can work for you. I will just tell you the necessary substitutions. Make sure you do the Earthen intro. You can either skip everything like I do here, or you can actually do the quests. You'll get some extra XP so it doesn't really hurt. It will also give you some basic gear, but that only really matters if you haven't done the Legion intro before. This next part is very important. When you finish the intro, the first thing you need to do is talk to Chromie. Set your timeline to Legion. You can stay in the Legion timeline the entire run. But if you aren't in a timeline, around level 30, your XP will start to drop off a cliff. Chromie time scales every zone in the game to level 71, so you can never outlevel a zone. Now that we are in Legion Chromie time, for Alliance, talk to this guy at the Stormwind Armor. This lets us get the Legion Hearthstone and gives us access to the Broken Isles for later. We can use the portals in the faction area of Dalaran to get to our first destination, Northrend Dalaran. Take the Dalaran portal in your faction portal hub and arrive in beautiful, very cold Northrend. This is my favorite exploration continent. However, we will not be using every zone here. It is a great starting continent though, and a perfect example of the red and orange rule. There are two things that increase exploration XP, the Earthen racial and level difference. Nothing else works. Nothing. It should, it really should, but your warband doesn't matter, nor does Darkmoon Fair or War Mode. Only Earthen racial and level difference. The red and orange rule has to do with level difference. Each zone has a minimum level. That means that mobs in that zone don't go below a certain level. This doesn't matter in terms of mobs, but it does matter in terms of exploration. If you're 5 levels below a zone's minimum, you get increased exploration XP. These are red zones. If you are 4 or less levels below the zone, until your level matches that of the zones, you'll get a flat increase of XP. It is a snapshot of the XP you would get if you were exactly 5 levels below the minimum. These are orange zones. My route has done its best to maximize using both of these. Northrend has been chosen as our start for this exact reason. Our first zone will be Dragonblight. Here's the map. Everything will be time-stamped by continent, so you can come back when you decide to do this run. There's too many maps to stay on the screen for too long, however, I will talk about anything important about the zones. After Dragonblight, we're heading into the Grizzly Hills. Some of these are individual towers, like number 5 and number 9, so watch out for that. Zuldrak is a good example of the rule of cool. If an area looks cool, it probably has some XP to give you. The Storm Peaks is our first zone with lots of varying elevation. Things like number 20 through 22 are temples that you gotta fly up on top of a mountain for. In Icecrown, you can skip Onslaught Harbor as it is decently out of the way, but XP is XP, so I usually hit it. Crystal Song Forest is our last zone in Northrend, and it leads directly back to where we started and where we're going in Dalaran. Once you get back to Dalaran, take the portal to your faction capital. For Horde players, this is one of two steps that will differ wildly from what you see in this guide. But know that the goal of step 2 is reaching level 30. As long as you do that before heading to Draenor, everything is on track. Check the description for a rough Horde version of this phase. Everyone else, we will be heading to the Twilight Highlands. To get there, we will need to fly, as the portals do not work at this low of level. However, this is to our advantage, as it gives us a chance to grab XP along the way. Here is the path that we will take. First, we're going to fly across the Searing Gorge and collect what XP we can along the way. However, it's not that important. What is getting to the Badlands. The Badlands takes us north and pretty much to the Twilight Highlands. The Twilight Highlands is a big source of XP. At this point, it'll be red to you, and it has 35 different spots that you can grab. Once we're done with the Twilight Highlands, we're going to head to Vashj'ir, and to do so, we're going to first go through the wetlands. From the wetlands to Dunmoreau, and from Dunmoreau out into the ocean, which will lead us to Vashj'ir. For Vashj'ir, do not go into the water. Everything is discoverable while flying above the water, and we're starting with the kelp forest. From the forest, we're going to the ruins. It can be a little tricky to get some of these, including number 8, but I believe in you. Finally, we're going to hit the depths, and at the end of it, our Hearthstone, because we're going all the way over to Tanaris next. Just like you see here, take the portal to the Caverns of Time, and that'll lead to Tanaris. And once we explore most of Tanaris, we're heading to Uldum, which should get us to level 30 just in time to go to Draenor. Once you're done with Uldum, you can just fly back to the Caverns of Time portal to get back to the portal room, and from the portal room over to Draenor. The Draenor portal spits us out on a little island. From here, we will be able to fly to our first zone, Shadowmoon Valley. The portal completely skips the intro, so make sure not to fly over any part of Tanaan Jungle, as we will explore that later. Tanaan, along with Northrend, will be giving us bonus XP for being underleveled, but we still have some room to get more XP in both Shadowmoon Valley, one of my favorite zones to explore, and the Spires of Iraq, a zone much like the Storm Peaks with its varying elevations, but only a few discoveries require flying up to them. After Iraq, we will be flying over the ocean again to Northrend. The entire middle zone of Draenor is useless to us. I'm not even gonna name it, just ignore it. Northrend itself is the prize here. We will be below minimum levels, so getting increased EXP. Another trip across the ocean brings us to Frostfire Ridge. This is one of the more complicated paths, but the visuals make it a windy road of fun to travel. Gorgrond is a complete mess for exploration. Half the zone doesn't even give XP, so I just circled the area that does give XP mostly. This is a bridge though, so feel free to explore whatever you want. It's not needed, however. We can make up the missing XP later. Finally, we get to Tanaan Jungle. Also kind of a mess to explore, but not so much when you have a map. Make sure to like the video if you appreciate all these maps I've made. Once you're done with Draenor, hearth back to your faction capital. Make sure not to use the Legion Hearthstone just in case though. This next part is bridging the gap. Our goal is to hit level 43 before going into Legion. I will show you my route, but you could really do anything here as long as it's not Legion or Pandaria. For Horde, Outland is a great alternative that I would recommend for this step, but for Alliance, I chose the Eastern Kingdoms. Starting with Elwynn Forest, you'll notice that each of these zones don't have as much to explore compared to the others. With Westfall, you can probably already see the pattern. We're going to explore the entire southern part of the Eastern Kingdoms. Duskwood, one of my favorite zones to quest in, not a very big fan of exploring it though. A few places that I thought would be explorable turned out to be a waste of time. With Cataclysm, Stranglethorn Vale was split into 2 zones. Northern Stranglethorn has an ouchie pit in it. Whatever you do, do not fly over the giant hole in the ground. Southern Stranglethorn will be our loop, going in a big ol' U shape so that we head back up to the Blasted Lands. The Blasted Lands themselves have a few odd spots. I avoided these though as they're not worth our time. The lost XP can once again easily be made up. In the Swamp of Sorrows, we're sticking to the east. It's one of the more barren zones in the Eastern Kingdom, so we're skipping most of it. By the end of exploring Red Ridge, you should be level 43. But if you aren't, don't worry, that's okay. Keep exploring the zones north of Red Ridge until you hit level 43. Then you are ready for Legion. Hit your Legion Hearthstone this time and fly your way down to the Broken Shores. I've said it once and I'll say it again, Legion is the breadbasket of this run. When you see my maps, you'll understand why. Just not the first map. Half of the Broken Shores isn't explorable for XP, but it is a level 45 zone, so we will be getting increased XP. Same goes for Suramar, but as you can see, it is much more abundant. Having lots of exploration XP is going to be a theme in Legion. If it weren't for Suramar being level 45, I would have Legion be the last expansion we hit on any of these runs. But that sweet increased XP is too good to pass up. While it is the richest source of exploration, zones like Stormheim make you work for it. It's not exactly hard, it's just a bit more complicated. Complication that High Mountain continues, arguably more so. I hope you've had plenty of dynamic flight practice by now, you've got a lot of mountains to climb. Vol Shara is far more forgiving, at least it would be if you could see anything. The trees are pretty though in this zone, so I give it a pass. With our final Legion zone being Azuna, we can bask in the massive amount of XPs we've gained. I don't know what happened there. If your Dalaran Hearthstone is available, I would just use that at the end of Azuna, but you can also just fly your way up to Dalaran, as our next destination is Misty Pandaria, using the Jade Forest portal. Pandaria will be the last continent of the guide. It does not complete the run, however, but it does get us pretty darn close. Starting with the Wilds. This is the most annoying zone in Pandaria, so it just goes up from here, literally, but it's just a blemish on the overall beauty of exploring Pandaria. Speaking of beauty, the Valley of the Four Winds is just chef's kiss, moi. It has to be one of my favorite zones to explore visually. There are a couple spots that should give XP that don't, but overall the character of the zone always makes me look forward to it. I included the Taverns in the Mists here. Once we discover it, fly all the way over to the Dread Wastes. Just like Draenor, we are avoiding the very center zone of Pandaria. The Dread Wastes themselves are a bit scuffed too, but it's workable. Next, we have the 2 long steps. We won't be exploring the whole zone, but we'll get most of it. The summits are one of the more complicated zones in the run, but after High Mountain, you should have the experience needed to conquer it. Holy cow, does the Jade Force rapid fire some of these discoveries. I was running out of room to even put them on the map. This is our final zone in Pandaria as well. I saved the last to capitalize on the very generous XP ratio we get at this point in the run. It's not the last zone of the entire run though. We just have 3 left. For Alliance, hit your Stormwind Hearthstone and head over to the Portal Hub. Take the Mount Hyjal one. The last 3 zones will be Mount Hyjal itself, Ashenvale, but not in its entirety. It's cutting towards the final zone, however. Which is the Stone Talon Mountains. At the end of this zone, you should be level 70, and again, if you aren't, do not worry, just keep exploring a little bit more. Now some of you may be wondering, okay, I'm level 70 now, but I have no gear. Well, that solution is simple too. Crummy Time doesn't kick you out at level 70, so keep exploring until at least level 71. You can pick anywhere and it'll be rather fast. Well, don't pick Shadowlands, again, that's a wrong decision. Once you reach level 71, you will unlock the ability to buy good gear on the auction house for cheap. You can also supplement this by doing non-combat world quests, to either get more gold to buy said gear, or get gear itself. There are plenty of world quests in the War Within that don't require any fighting. And there you have it. I personally completed this route in 3 hours, memorized it enough that all of these maps were created from mostly memory. Practice does make perfect, but even without the maps, people have been commenting that they're getting pretty quick runs. Thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. This took a long time to make, so if you enjoyed, please consider liking and telling me what you think about it in the comments. If you still have questions on how to explore, watch this video on the right. My name has been Kale, and have a very good flight.